5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
America wasn't looking for the kind of change Obama and Matheson had in mind. Stephen Sandstrom believes in change that reduces the size of government, lowers taxes, and brings reason to the legislative process. The only thing needing to be transformed is Utah's 4th District representative. Look at who Stephen Sandstrom is and see why he's the right choice for Utah and America.
I'm Stephen Sandstrom, and I approve this message.
Equipped to serve. A motto well-suited for Utah House Representative Stephen Sandstrom. With a degree from BYU in political science and another in architecture from Arizona State, Sandstrom dreamed of designing a better future for Utah citizens. Sandstrom was given his political legs early in life. His parents taught him about America's virtues and our nation's founding fathers. They suggested he embed those same virtues in his own life. It was not unusual for young Stephen to be fed a steady diet of America's political issues during dinner.
We wouldn't talk about a sporting event necessarily or what we did at school. We talked politics. We talked about issues of the day. We talked about our opinions. And my parents instilled in me a great sense of patriotism.
By the time he turned 8, his love for politics was evident.
One day he rode his bicycle into downtown Provo, picked up campaign literature, and brought them home because he wanted to help the candidates win. And we think that that was really special because to us it kind of set him apart from the rest of the young men.
At the age of 14, Sandstrom earned his Eagle Scout Award. He addressed fellow scouts at state and regional events concerning the importance of the Constitution and his love for America.
The guest speaker was a retired Air Force Brigadier General Robinson Reisner, who had actually been a prisoner of war in Vietnam for 7 years. During his speech, he mentioned that he felt that Stephen was a young Abraham Lincoln, and we were just so proud to hear him say that and recognize that about our son.
On his 17th birthday, he received his pilot's license. At 19, he left to serve an honorable LDS mission in Venezuela. In 1988, Sandstrom's passion for America led him to the U.S. Marine Corps, where he became an officer. Following his military service, he began a successful career as an airline pilot. Today, flying has become a cherished hobby. After his father's unexpected and debilitating stroke, Sandstrom walked away from aviation to help run the family business. He promised his father he would keep the company alive. His promise came to fruition as a 4th-generation architect. Sandstrom Architecture has since grown to become one of the largest and most successful firms in Utah. When the opportunity to serve arose in 1993, Sandstrom served on the Orem City Council from 1994 to 2006, gaining the reputation as a fiscal conservative. There, Sandstrom voted no for a proposed franchise tax increase, which was costly to Orem residents. He was the only council member to vote no on an unneeded cell phone tax, and he insisted that Orem citizens be given the right to vote on all bond measures, rather than bonds being legislated behind closed doors. Today, he is known as one of the most effective lawmakers on Capitol Hill.
Because of my upbringing, the values and principles that were instilled in me from the time I was a young boy that helped me to be an effective representative from day one.
Sandstrom vowed from the start and remains firm on the fact that he is not and never will be a single-issue legislator. A gifted leader whose convictions are founded on principle, he clearly understands that government intrusions from the city, state, and/or federal level can be burdensome to its citizens.
I want to hear ideas and suggestions, and that's why I brought this bill out early. I'm not trying to do something that is just thrown upon the people of the state of Utah quickly like we see happen in Washington, D.C.
Sandstrom believes that through state sovereignty we can help restore America and return to its constitutional foundation. Sandstrom's current efforts are focused on creating jobs for Utah's unemployed and keeping his pledge to fight for the education of our children. He believes that every child deserves a good learning experience and a chance for a bright future.
Steve Sandstrom is a champion of public education, and anyone who would say otherwise is not telling the truth.
Representative Sandstrom has worked vigorously for Utah residents by protecting its school children with House Bill 103, introduced and passed this year. He was the only state representative who responded to the PTA's plea for reduced speed zones at signalized crosswalks. This required changing state law immediately, and he went to work.
Steve Sandstrom cares about Utah's children. He demonstrated this to me personally by being instrumental in the grassroots effort of a school safety zone bill.
Too many times in the news, we have sadly discovered the improper relations between a teacher and his or her students. Representative Sandstrom led House Bill 287, which protects students from inappropriate relationships outside the classroom. Because of the law, several teachers were excused from teaching. Last year, Sandstrom sponsored House Bill 81, the Healthcare Patient Protection Act. This bill requires patients to show their IDs to hospitals and medical professionals. The new law now protects a patient's confidential medical records from identity theft. And 3 years ago, Sandstrom ran legislation that closed a loophole in state law, which had opened the door for Indian casinos. House Bill 104 prevents bars and taverns from operating casino nights and other gambling-like activities. The law also closed down bingo parlors that operated under the loophole. Sandstrom stood charge, making Utah one of only 2 states that outlaws all forms of gambling. Stephen is an avid mountain climber and adventurer who appreciates nature's wildlife. In 2008, he passed House Bill 117, the Trout Habitat Protection Act. This bill protects the home of indigenous trout, and now they'll forever remain abundant in Utah for future generations. He loves spending time in the outdoors with his family and believes our fragile environment must be cared for and carefully managed. A loving husband and a father of 4, Sandstrom finds his greatest enjoyment with family. His wife Jen is frequently by his side, and together they make quality time with their children.
Now, through the years of service to our community and to the state, Stephen really has understood that family comes first. He's been a wonderful husband and a fabulous father, and that has been a real blessing in our lives.
Their happiest moments are found camping and exploring Utah's beautiful backcountry. Stephen also volunteers his time coaching sports and is heavily involved with the lives of his children.
My dad's always been there to support us and help us, and couldn't ask for a better father.
He's taught me lots of important things, and he's just the greatest dad in the world.
My brothers and I have always been and always will be the top priority in my dad's life. It makes me feel really lucky to have him as a father.
It could be said that House Representative Stephen Sandstrom belongs to that rare class of leader who listens to the voter, does what he says, and whose work ethic is punctuated with integrity, honesty, and principle. Stephen Sandstrom, equipped to serve.
I fell in love with Stephen shortly after he left the Marine Corps, and we were married the summer after he graduated from BYU. And right after we were married, he was hired as an airline pilot. Now, this was his dream job, and this was really exciting. I mean, new life together, a new career. But the downfall to all that is that pilots do not make a lot of money when they start out. And we really struggled financially. I was working, he was working as many hours as he could, and it just still never seemed to be quite enough. And I recall our first Thanksgiving together. Stephen had to fly a shift in the morning, and he left, and I remember looking around our apartment and wondering what to do, because I really wanted this to be special, but we had nothing. We had no furniture, no table, no chairs, nothing. And so after a little bit of time, I finally found the ironing board, and I set it up on the floor, low on the floor. I spread a tablecloth down over it, and I put candlesticks at the ends, and it served as our first Thanksgiving table. We were so grateful for each other and our new life together, even through these struggles. Now, as time went on, Stephen became a captain, and we were expecting our first child, and we were really excited. Things were starting to look up and go really great. But a few weeks before the birth of our daughter, tragedy struck, and Stephen's father had a debilitating stroke. His architectural firm was now failing. His parents had no kind of income at that point, And so we really had to sit down and make the decision what to do. Stephen not only was a pilot, but he'd been trained in architecture. And so we made the tough decision to leave that flying career and basically start over with this struggling business. I remember so many nights Stephen would come home after working a full day at the office. He'd eat dinner, say hi to me, play with our daughter for a minute, and then head right back to the office and work until late. But he was so dedicated to his family and helping them out financially, and also the promises he'd made to the employees that his father had, that he worked tirelessly to make sure that that firm did not fail. Now, over the years, because of his dedication and because of that hard work, things slowly began to get better. Stephen has now taken that small, struggling firm and turned it into one of the most successful firms in the Intermountain West. Stephen is an incredibly hard worker, and he is determined with everything that he does. He is a wonderful husband. He's a loving father. And I believe that these qualities that have helped us through so many struggles in our lives will also make him a wonderful congressman.